in his press conference last night, Aaron Rodgers touched on the question and the reality of the perception or the reality of Mike Tomlin and his longtime coach in Green Bay, Matt LaFleur, being on the proverbial hot seat in the current cycle. Here's what Rodgers had to say.
When you have the right guy and the culture is right, you don't think about making a change. But there's a lot of pressure that comes from the outside, and obviously that sways decisions from time to time, but it's not how I would do things and not how the league used to be.
Oh, he said a lot more than that. It's a shame. Oh, we clipped that short. There was a lot more. There was a lot of good stuff there. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be like Aaron Rodgers and blame someone for not running on the red line, but he really got passionate about LaFleur. He got passionate about bozos who go on TV. And he didn't say bozos, but he basically was saying bozos, and I felt like he basically was saying me, and we know he's called me out by name before. But this whole thing about hot seat and not hot seat, I'd like to think owners of teams have a little more resolve than to be swayed by what idiots like me have to say. And no one's suggesting at this point that Mike Tomlin is going to be fired. No one's saying that Tomlin is going to be fired. There's no way Art Rooney II is going to fire Mike Tomlin. The question is he going to choose to walk away? As it relates to Matt LaFleur, the only reason it's a story is because the new team president has created the story. He may not have done it intentionally, but when the new team president says no new contract for Matt LaFleur until after the season, oh, he signed through 2026. Well, I don't like lame duck situations. Well, that sets up a very clear either or. You're going to get an extension or you're going to be gone. And even after yesterday, Devin, when it was leaked Monday morning to Adam Schefter that they're going to have extension talks, well, what if the talks fail? What if they don't get a deal done? What's next? What if Matt LaFleur says, I'm fine finishing up my contract, and Ed Policy says, I'm not fine with that? What happens next? So this isn't something manufactured by the media. This is a clear inflection point for the Green Bay Packers created by Ed Policy. Between Ed Policy and me, one of us is responsible for creating the issue that's currently hovering over Matt LaFleur, and it ain't me. So anybody that hasn't seen the whole Aaron Rodgers clip, and we may transcribe it and post it later, he really got indignant. It was classic Aaron Rodgers indignance, and we gave you a little taste of it.
But I do think from a former player's standpoint, when you play for guys that you think have done a good job, then I think that's the feeling. And I think when you feel like, man, this guy's protected me, this guy's had my back, like I think there is something to that. And again, I've been the biggest component of I understand now how the NFL works and moving on and all those different things. I just think it's crazy that teams sometimes, like if you fire Matt LaFleur, and again, we've heard it and I've seen it in reports, hey, one of the reasons with LaFleur too is, hey, if Harbaugh's out there and Harbaugh's available, because they were up in this game against Chicago, they blew the lead, and it's like, wait, what? Like, I get it. Harbaugh has a longer time, longevity, 18 years in Baltimore, but it's like if we're going to say, like, hey, what matters is what you do most recently, well, like, he's blown more fourth-quarter leads than all the other coaches this past season and in the last few seasons. So that's my thing. I think it gets to this point in the year and everyone talks about firing people, and it's like the next person they hire, it's the same situation. So I do think that's the player's perspective of, coaches being fired and different things like that, I think comes from a day-to-day grind with coaches and seeing that side of it when you defend or when you talk about those coaches. And I don't even know if LaFleur and Rodgers are close to that extent and how close him and Tomlin got this past year. But I think Rodgers knows what it's supposed to look like, and when you give yourself an opportunity to go win games, what that does. So I like when guys speak to that and they're a little real and authentic about that. And I know players, we don't always get the real side of, sometimes there's situations where coaches are fired, and there are a lot of players in there like, man, it's about time. They should have fired him, and they don't always say that. But I get why players defend coaches when you're in there day after day, and when it's done poorly, you have no shot to win. And I know players who have had coaches where they know, like, this is horrible and we suck mainly because this coach sucks.
My guess is that Matt LaFleur does not believe that there's a solid relationship between he and Aaron Rodgers, and my guess is that Matt LaFleur would be stunned by the full-throated defense that Aaron Rodgers provided last night. And look, this may have just been a little precursor, a little appetizer for what Aaron Rodgers may do next. He claims that when he retires, he's going to walk away and never be heard from again. I say baloney to that. He'll be around somewhere, somehow. Nobody goes in and sits for 3 frickin' hours with Joe Rogan when he has no obligation to do so. If he doesn't crave being in the spotlight, he will miss it. He will find a way to be in it. He will try to create a situation where he does it reluctantly after people clamor for him. I don't know that people will, but he likes to make the media commentary and complain about this, complain about that, and I think that's part of what he was doing, because factually he was off. This isn't a media creation as it relates to Matt LaFleur, and there definitely isn't a push for Art Rooney II to fire Mike Tomlin. Yeah, there's always going to be a percentage of the Steelers fan base that wants to, but he's not going to. He's not going to. Art Rooney II isn't giving into that 30% of the fan base that wants to fire Mike Tomlin anytime they lose 2 or 3 games in a row. He's not going to do it. He never has. He never will. It's about whether or not Tomlin will walk away. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.